We're here with Steven Spear, is a senior lecturer at MIT Sloan School of Management, founder of C2Solve, and author of two, maybe more books.
Those two, yeah.
Close to. Steve, you were the keynote speaker at today's Manufacturing Day. I'm very happy that you wanted to sit down with us just to kind of recap for our listeners, because of course they might not have been able to join the Manufacturing Day. And what we would like to do now is to take 2 or 3 points that you've discussed during a keynote and dig into these a little bit. To start off with, you talked about how innovation, not only in manufacturing, but innovation in general and all kinds of industries, is not only about technology. Technology is an important part, of course, of how to make it work, but it's also about the people. What do you mean exactly?
Yeah, so when we took a look at technology didn't pre-exist. It was people got together and they saw a problem and iterated and then converged on a solution to that particular problem. And then we get fascinated by the object, whether it's a tractor, a backhoe, a microchip, the things the microchips go into. But it all started with people either selfishly or empathetically recognizing there was a problem space with a problem holder and trying to understand the problem and then iteratively test solutions in practice and say, is this something you can adopt? And I think sometimes we get so fascinated by devices we lose sight of the behavior that allowed the device to come into being.
Yeah. Interestingly, this is also something that we see sometimes with some of our technological startups, that they're very in love with the technology. Many of them also engineers, and of course this is incredibly important. But not only the how, but also the why and the how are you going to reach people with this. Not only how will it work, what are you solving, what is the problem or the need. So I think this is definitely true, and we see it every day in the line of work as well. You mentioned that the operational excellence is incredibly important. You talked about how everything in terms of surrounding the organization as the ecosystem perhaps is the same. Same technology, same regulation, same opportunities, just the outcome is different. So you compare Nokia to Apple, for example, Yahoo to Google, and the only place where you can make a difference is in the organization.
That's right.
Yeah. Could you dig a bit into that?
Yeah, so when we start thinking about companies or enterprises more generally that are great currently or in the past, one of the things characteristic of them, and perhaps necessary, is they're not monopolies. They're not the only one doing what they do. It's just that whatever they're doing, they do it so much better in terms of productivity, quality, fit to market, cycle times to introduce, whatever it is, however you want to measure, they are better. And not only are they better at one or two things, they're better across the board. And so given that they're subject to the same rules, regulations, laws, they have access to the similar resources, whether it's raw materials or capital equipment, as everybody else, they're drawing on the same science, engineering, and technology. What explains the difference? The only thing left is the systems internal to the organization. And I'm not talking IT systems, I'm talking the processes, the procedures, the norms, the culture that allows people to behave differently in the exemplars. They're everybody else, as compared to everybody else. Yeah.
Maybe one of the other limiting resources that you might have that not everyone else has is the people, perhaps, within your organization, the talents.
That's right.
Where is the difference?
So if I could just pick up on that. So sometimes you'll have some leaders of organizations who complain, oh, the problem is the people for whom I'm responsible. And they can be really quite dismissive. The thing that's really sort of a contradiction of that theory, that my problem as leader is the people available to me, is when we look in organizations that transform from being in the pack and typical or even behind the pack and really struggling to become the exemplars. Typically, they don't replace the people. Certainly not the people who are doing the work on the shop floor, in the nursing unit, on the deck plate. What changes is the behavior of leaders. Sometimes it's the leaders who has an epiphany, says, I'm doing this wrong. Sometimes they actually have to remove one leader and replace him or her with some other leader. If you're changing the leaders and not changing the people, what then you're really changing is the conditions in which all these other people find every day when they show up to work, and changing the conditions from conditions in which their ability to contribute is wildly undervalued to conditions in which their ability to contribute is realized as the differentiator for the enterprise.
Yeah. And it's just the task of the leader to create this kind of environment you can call culture.
That's right.
It's this environment where people can excel and be their best selves.
100%.
Yeah. Let's circle back a little bit towards the problem space, which you mentioned before. Could you just very briefly explain what you mean exactly with a problem space?
Yeah. So I think we may sometimes confound the terms invention and innovation. And when we think about invention, we often think about something which is technological. Start thinking about where a great invention comes from. Very often it's someone who's fascinated by a particular field of science or technology or engineering. And as much as they've mastered what already exists, they're constantly trying to push the boundary in terms of understanding more. And the invention then comes out of taking what's already known, asking some questions which are on the other side of the boundary in the frontier of the knowledge of that industry or that field, and advancing. Innovation has a similar dynamic of curiosity and experimentation, but as opposed to, or maybe in addition to, the curiosity about the science and technology and engineering, it's actually curiosity and fascination with the users. It's a very people-oriented orientation. Trying to ask the question, the conditions, the experiences these people have, is it as good as it possibly can be? Is it as good as they necessarily want? And if it's not, and this is leading into the problem space, what is it which is inadequate about the experiences they're having? And then that triggers the question, well, is there something we can do to change the experience they're having? Now they may come back and say, well, we actually have to invent something technological. Sometimes what we have to do is invent the service or the way the thing is presented, or the way it's educated, the way it's put to use. So anyway, the innovation is a very empathetic people orientation, going to understand their experience from where they're having it. And the invention is also a sign of great curiosity and the energy behind that curiosity, but very often it's focused on the object which might be put to use as opposed to the user.
Yeah. And once we're talking about, we have a problem space and we see what the problem and the need is, kind of moving into the problem solving space, which is of course a big theme in your latest work.
Yep.
You talk about the winning zone versus the danger zone.
Right.
Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Well, absolutely. So part of the thesis in our new book, Wiring the Winning Organization, is, first we're trying to explain the paradox of really great performance in the same field where there's less than great performance. And the argument we make is that the great performers have created conditions in which people can see and solve really hard problems individually, but more importantly, collaboratively, collectively. They can see and solve really hard problems much better, more effectively, more efficiently than in what's a more typical environment. And with that, then we start asking the question, what are the characteristics of situations which make it hard to solve problems, which we dub the danger zone, and what are conditions which make it much easier for people to see and solve problems, particularly really hard problems that require a lot of cross-functional collaboration. And the conditions, it's negative versus positive, danger zone versus winning zone, is it's really hard to solve very complex problems where all factors are kind of intertwined, because just to make sense of the situation, let alone figure out what's inputs, what are outputs, what actions lead to what reactions, is very hard to do. Making things even harder is to give people little time and ask them to solve very hard problems, particularly complex ones, under tremendous time pressure with little duration. Make things even worse, add hazard and risks, that sort of thing. And like anything else where we have to go from we don't have capability to we do, we need cycles, learning loops. And if we deny those to people and say, well, you only have one or two shots to get to the right answer, it's not likely they will. So those are the characteristics of danger zone. And the winning zone is, all the opposite, is that first off, that we use these couple of terms, that we amplify the fact that there's actually a problem to be solved. Right? We don't just sort of say, oh, well, that's what always happens. We amplify it. Second is the amplification triggers what we call slowification, which is, okay, let's step out of trying to deliver and perform and execute whatever else it is, and actually give ourselves committed time and space to first understand the problem and then iteratively generate solutions. So the amplification leads to this slowification. And then as we try to solve the problem, we don't try to solve it all at once. We try to break it down into its component pieces and solve first order and second order problems rather than 10 and 20 and 30 order problems. And then eventually we may put the pieces back together, but it's partitioning the big thing into little pieces where we allow our brains to wrap and our minds to wrap around the pieces and then figure out how they come back together.
So you make solving problems easier,
right,
and problems easier to solve.
That's right.
Great. Great. On that note, I think that we can wrap up for this version.
Thank you.
For the podcast. We're very happy that we can announce that we will have a full-length episode with you as well.
Marvelous.
Soon. For anyone who is interested in learning more about these topics about accelerating innovation within a corporation, can buy your book or your books.
That's right.
Which are?
That's 100%. So the two books, the new one is called Wiring the Winning Organization, which talks about these mechanisms of problem amplification, slowification, and simplification. The previous book was called The High Velocity Edge. Similar theme of how do we organize in such a way that it's much easier to solve hard problems, quicker, easier, faster, more of them. And another place people might want to see is a resource. Our company's website, C2Solve, has a resources section. So c2solve.com/resources, which has some nice use cases, which they may find interesting.
Perfect. This link will be in the description. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Now here at the Manufacturing Day 2024, we're very happy that we have a couple of partners, sponsors actually, and with me right now is partner of Moore SKZ, Renate Hüttl, one of the sponsors of our event. So first off, thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
Why is it important for you, for Moore SKZ, to be a sponsor at or a partner of a manufacturing event?
Well, as one of the main sponsors, we are of course delighted to be part of such an exciting event for the first time. For us, it's the first time. I know it's already the fourth time, I think, for you. And we are proud to learn more about the innovations and new technologies in the manufacturing industry. Our firm, Moore SKZ, with offices in Steyr, Linz and Vienna, we support several startups in the industry, including, for example, the organizer itself, EIT Manufacturing East.
Yeah.
So we worked together very closely since its foundation. So thanks to our many years of experience working together with startups in all industries, we know what obstacles young companies can face and how we can minimize tax and financial risks for them. So the Manufacturing Day offers a great opportunity to get more insight into current developments and to better understand the challenges our companies, the companies we are supporting, are facing. And the speed of innovation, which is the topic today, is a very current topic in all industries. So we really understand the importance of innovation and technologies for companies in this industry. And we are proud to support them with our experience in all tax and financial matters.
Oh, great. Yeah, you mentioned, of course, that you work with us as well. It's easy to forget that EIT Manufacturing was founded just a couple of years ago.
Yes, 2020, I think.
Exactly, yeah. We also started as a bit of a startup, you know. So, but I'm interested in knowing why it's important for startups to get involved or have a reliable partner for all tax and financial issues right from the start. Why is this so important?
Well, there are some reasons why it is important to have a reliable partner from the beginning, because as you probably know, most startups have limited resources and experience when it comes to tax questions and all the regulations which needs to be fit. And I think this is the most important reason. And as tax consultants, as we are, we can help to minimize risks, tax risks and financial risks, and ensure that the company is financially healthy and develop, for example, new business models, or we also help them apply for fundings or to develop innovative financial strategies. And of course, we always try that we use all tax advantages which are available at the moment. And so to sum it up, it saves time and resources for the startups if you have a competent partner which is doing the things for you, and startups can concentrate on their core activity.
Their core product,
Yeah.
their solution, absolutely. Are there any current themes in the tax space that are of particular interest to startups right now?
Yes, there are a few, because in Austria, it's really important to support startups even for the government. So we have a few new legal regulations which are especially interesting for startups. For example, the new legal form Flexco, or flexible cooperation. We already have a number of clients which are considering to set up a Flexco, or already have. So the Flexco is intended to offer an internationally competitive option for innovative startups and founders in an early stage in particularly. So this is especially interesting, and there are a few questions where we can support. And in addition, the minimum share capital for GmbHs, which is the most common legal form in Austria, has been reduced from 35,000 to 10,000 euros. So this should make it easier to set up a new company. And furthermore, there is also one last interesting thing before I got into too many details. There is a new model of employee participation for startups, as startups often have limited resources and cannot pay high wages for skilled employees, which are needed at the beginning. The model enables startups to involve the company, also their employees in the company. So this can create an incentive to skilled workers if they are involved in the company from themselves. And we help startups to implement these new models and regulations for them. So as you can see, there are a few good reasons why it is important to have a good tax consultant from the beginning as a startup.
No, absolutely. It can always save you money, and cash is king for startups.
Yes.
So you mentioned you can go into a lot of detail. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to do that. So it's all very interesting as well. I know nothing about tax, so I'm learning as we're going. Austrian startups particularly can reach out to you.
Yes, please. So we would be glad if we have gained new contacts today, and if some startups come to us, because we really have a lot of experience yet and have a good team which is working constantly to find new ways to save money and time for startups.
Great. Do you have an international network as well?
Yes, we are part of the Moore network. So this means we can also work together with other partners in other countries. So if our startups would need a contact in other countries, it would be no problem. We can look it up or call our colleagues in France, for example, or in Hungary, and it's no problem. They are working with us together. We have meetings globally where we also stay in touch with them.
Great.
So we really know that they would be supported in the other country as well as we can support them in Austria.
Fantastic. So every startup in our region, but also Europe-wide or maybe globally, can reach out to you in case they have any questions.
Yes, we would be glad to.
Fantastic. On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sitting next to me in digital form is Christoph Trauner of Habegger Austria, one of the partners of the Manufacturing Day 2024. And Christoph, you're head of sales and project manager.
Yes, I'm the head of sales at Habegger Austria. We are an international service provider in the field of live communications, and we realize a lot of projects worldwide and local in Austria in the areas of events, experience spaces, and so on.
Yeah, and so one of these, of course, was the Manufacturing Day 2024, and before that as well. So why was it important for Habegger Austria to be a partner at this year's Manufacturing Day?
We're doing a lot of projects in the event industry, and with our broad-based team, we are able to offer our clients a unique all-around service, We are characterized by our love of complexity and surprising solutions. We are at your side when an idea first sprouts and accompany US it grows and develops, and there for you until your project blossoms into its full beauty. With the aim of touching people, this makes us the perfect sponsor for Manufacturing Day. With our innovative ideas, we are just as challenged every day in the realization of events as a young startup in the European manufacturing industry.
So you're basically working in event management, digital event management. And what is the added value of events, or maybe also hybrid events, for manufacturing companies?
To make the company and its products tangible through emotions. In addition, events also help personal business networking. This is secretly the most important component of events. And this is not so easy to do in hybrid events. Hybrid events help people to connect worldwide in a very easy way, but it's not so easy to network physically on an event, what people like most on the event industry.
Are there any particular things that industrial companies should look out for when they organize these kinds of events?
Enough planning time. It's not uncommon for large inquiries with complex technical requirements to arrive just a few weeks before the planned event date. For a complex event, you need a lot of time to organize this, and for events during the high seasons in May or June or September, this is the high season in Austria, it should also be that both venues and service providers are sometimes less available in the desired dates or months in this advance. When you want to save budget, please do this, but in the right places. Lighting and audio and video technology are often the game changers in the successful video staging of an event. Also in hybrid events. When you use less quality, people won't pay attention on your event. To achieve the desired wow effect, you need event technology and the corresponding accessories of a certain quality. High quality solutions are, of course, also associated with a certain budget investment. Our tip is therefore to plan enough budget for the event technology depending on the dimensions. Of course, thanks to the expertise of our teams, every event can also be realized well and with added value in a smaller scale, but only on a certain limit. So you cut back too much here in order to save costs. In the worst case, you will also lose out on quality and lose the interest from your clients. The third point is consider event regulations and make registrations in different countries on different type of events, indoor events, outdoor events. You have different kind of regulations and so on, and this also needs time to organize this before the starting of the event. The fourth point is clearly define responsibilities. The fifth point is a healthy dose of trust in your partners. These are 5 points to realize in when you organize your event, and if you need any further information for this, contact us.
Habegger Austria is the place to go.
Yes.
Of course, without trust and without at least some budget, it will work out. Christoph, thank you so much for joining us here. And of course, thank you again to Habegger Austria for being a partner of the Manufacturing Day 2024.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to The Art of Making on the podcast platform of your choice. We're also more than happy to hear from you, so reach out through the EIT Manufacturing website, that is eitmanufacturing.eu, or find us on the usual social media channels. Take care and talk soon.